The airline threw a single dad and his daughter out of first class. Then the pilot walked out of the cockpit. Daniel Harper adjusted his daughter's backpack as they settled into their first-class seats. 8-year-old Sophie couldn't stop smiling. It was her first time on an airplane, and she had spent weeks counting down the days. Daniel had saved for months to surprise her after she finished her medical treatments. Seeing her happy made every extra shift worth it. A few minutes before boarding ended, a flight attendant stopped beside their row. "Sir, you'll need to come with me." Daniel looked confused. "Is something wrong?" "We believe these seats were assigned incorrectly." Daniel calmly handed over both boarding passes. The attendant barely glanced at them before shaking her head. "I'm afraid you'll have to move to economy." Daniel remained polite. "I booked these seats months ago. Could you please check again?" Several passengers watched in silence. One man muttered, "First class is getting crowded these days." Daniel ignored the comment. He didn't want Sophie to feel embarrassed. Sophie quietly held her father's hand. "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" Daniel smiled gently. "Of course not, sweetheart." The attendant insisted they leave immediately because boarding had to finish. Not wanting to create a scene in front of his daughter, Daniel picked up their bags and slowly walked toward the aisle. As they reached the front of the aircraft, Sophie looked back at the seats she had been so excited about. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't complain. She simply whispered, "I like the window." Daniel's heart broke. Just then, the cockpit door opened. The pilot stepped outside after hearing the discussion. "Is there a problem?" The flight attendant explained that the passengers had been removed because another traveler claimed the seats belonged to him. The pilot asked to see the boarding passes. He scanned them carefully. Then he looked at the flight attendant. "These seats belong to Mr. Harper and his daughter." The cabin fell silent. But another passenger insisted. The pilot raised his hand. "The boarding passes decide that, not assumptions." He turned toward Daniel. "Sir, I'm truly sorry." The businessman sitting in Daniel's seat avoided eye contact. He admitted he had assumed Daniel couldn't possibly belong in first class and convinced the crew there had been a mistake. The pilot's expression hardened. "Sir, please return to your assigned seat immediately." Embarrassed, the man quietly collected his belongings and walked toward economy. The pilot personally carried Sophie's backpack back to first class. He smiled warmly. "I believe this window seat has been waiting for someone." Sophie's face lit up again. "Thank you." As everyone settled down, the pilot surprised the cabin once more. He knelt beside Sophie. "I heard you've been very brave." She nodded. Shyly, "My treatments are finished." "Then this trip deserves a proper celebration." He handed her a small pair of children's pilot wings. The entire cabin applauded. During the flight, the pilot invited Sophie and Daniel to visit the cockpit after landing. Sophie spent the rest of the journey holding the little wings like treasure. The passengers, who had watched quietly earlier, began speaking with Daniel. An elderly woman apologized. "I should have said something." Daniel smiled kindly. "It's never too late to stand up for someone." Those words stayed with several people for the rest of the flight. After landing, Sophie and Daniel entered the cockpit. The pilot showed her the controls, explained how airplanes fly, and even let her make a welcome announcement to the cabin while it was parked. Her laughter filled the aircraft. Before they left, Daniel thanked the pilot. "You didn't have to come out." The pilot smiled. "Actually, I did. My father raised me alone. I still remember how strangers judged him. He taught me that respect isn't something people earn with expensive clothes. It's something every person deserves." Daniel felt tears forming in his eyes. Outside the airport, the airline's station manager met them personally. After reviewing what had happened, she sincerely apologized and assured Daniel that the crew would receive additional training to ensure passengers were never judged by appearance again. She also promised that seating decisions would always be based on verified boarding passes, not assumptions or pressure from other travelers. Weeks later, Daniel received a handwritten letter from the pilot. Inside was a photograph of Sophie sitting in the captain's seat wearing her little pilot wings. On the back, the pilot had written, "Never let anyone decide where your daughter belongs. Let her dreams decide that." Daniel framed the photo in their living room. Every time Sophie looked at it, she smiled. One evening, she pointed at the picture and said, Daddy, one day I want to fly airplanes. Daniel squeezed her hand. I believe you will. Years later, Sophie began her first aviation training course. The framed photograph still hung on the wall, reminding both of them that one unfair moment had not defined their journey. Instead, it became the day they learned that kindness from one person can erase the hurt caused by many others. If this story touched your heart, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you had witnessed Daniel and Sophie being removed from their seats? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story because respect should never depend on appearance. It should travel with every passenger.